by Ben and Vicky Coates, the team behind Garage Talk Online and the video magazine series Garage Talk Unwrapped, which is a segment that makes Garage Talk a bit different from any other publication in the industry. And that's kind of what I wanted to dig into today. Now, if you've seen their work, you'll know that they don't just produce content, but they actually document the aftermarket in a way that feels real, relevant, and relatable. And in this conversation, we're looking at how brands can use video before, during, and after events, and why documenting what's actually happening often has more impact for audience engagement and connection. So thanks very much for being here today with us, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you for having us. It's nice to be on the other end of the interview today.
Well, yeah, I was going to say I'm kind of joined by the interview master, Ben Coates himself, so I'll hopefully do justice for you today. So I watched the 2024 review just before you guys came on, and all cozied up in the sofa. And you mentioned that video is that publication's main USP. And obviously, as an agency that also focuses on video, I wanted to talk to you guys about that. I think we can geek out together today. So more and more brands obviously should be using video in general, but especially around events, exhibitions. And I'm kind of hoping that our conversation can lead to some insights and tactics that brands that are exhibiting can actually use and take home. So I'll lead into my first question. But before I do, could you guys give us just an intro on Garage Talk Online and that Unwrapped series that you guys are doing?
Yeah, I'll begin because it was my idea originally. A few years ago, I was in print, and print is fantastic, but I think we'd all agree it has a shortened lifespan these days, and it's getting dearer, unfortunately. We all like a good magazine, but people take in their media in different ways now. And I left the print media industry and decided to go digital, purely digital. Set the website up, but knowing that it needed to gain a reputation. And also, we're very, very lucky in this industry. A lot of good PR companies produced basically cut and paste editorial with the photo. So we're very, very fortunate and very grateful for that. So we set the website up, started to get people coming there, and we very quickly gained 30,000 regular visitors. But I always knew that the key was being different. Many, many people have got outlets for the media, but nobody really does a video magazine, monthly magazine. So in 2023, we started doing different videos, but knowing that it wasn't the official magazine. 2024, we launched the magazine, and I said to Vicky, I went, we'll do half-hour episodes. And Vicky went, yeah, okay, that's great. If we get that material, to be fair, we're struggling to keep it down to an hour, especially around showtime now as well. And Vicky was a major part, really, of the philosophy behind it. I knew what I wanted to do, but Vicky knew it had to be entertaining and educational. In this industry, everybody wants to put their face in front of the camera. It's a very political industry. Obviously, politics is a massive part of it, but we need to hit several audiences. We need to hit the people, obviously the suppliers, and entertain them because they're the people that are going to advertise with us. The garage owners, because they're the people that sign off the checks. But also I felt the mechanics, because I feel the mechanics go to the garage owners and say, I want or I need. Usually I need is the better option because I want doesn't always get a yes. And thirdly, I now think I'm a great believer that consumers are starting to take in more and know more brands from the aftermarket. So consumers then go into the garage and say, I want these brakes, I want this, this caliper, I want, there's just been a big series with Tim Shaw for brake engineering, which is they remanufacture brake calipers. And that's kind of, that's hitting the public now. But that from my side of things was the philosophy behind it. But Vicky is a major part of it. So over to yourself.
I mean, I hate to say it, I didn't actually believe in it when you first suggested it. So I'm very much, eating my own words there. But it's going remarkably well. I think some people are still struggling to understand that it is a monthly video magazine. It's still being called a podcast, which kind of is, but we're out and about on location. And it's very much about the video rather than being able to listen to it just in your headphones on your phone. It's being able to see things as well. And just echoing what Ben said about the educational and the entertaining part. We didn't want it just to be interviews, which is the easiest thing for us to get, because like Ben said, everybody wants to talk to us and get their point across, but we need to make it interesting and engaging and want people to want to come back for the next episode to see, what happened next on that series, or what are they talking about this week. So that was the struggle to begin with, I think, getting different content that wasn't just Ben having a chat with people, which he loves to do. So that's handy. But yeah, I think it's going well. Every month we're making small tweaks. But we've had really good, we've had positive feedback for it. So
yeah, we're being recognised now.
Yeah,
which isn't always good.
Yeah, aren't you that guy that said that? No, I love that. And digging into that philosophy then, obviously you've mentioned kind of a wide-ish audience there. And I would say that, I mean, I'm dyslexic, so I could be going off on a tangent here where I'm just not reading a specific publication that, could be political or could be like about a new technology. And video for me feels like that medium where I can kind of jump into it. I can see context. And like you said, rather than it being that audio first experience that usually the long format kind of turns into a podcast, firmly done it with, no, we're actually showing and telling, you got the factory tours, things like that. Do you think that if you didn't have that video, would it have the same kind of impact?
No. I think visual in this industry is vital. I think that there's a lot of good podcasts out there, and any media I encourage people to get into. But we feel the video really is the automotive industry is probably a bit further back because when I was at school, it was always, and it wasn't me, but there was lots of people. You're not very good. You can be a mechanic. You can't do this at school. You'll be a mechanic. And that did two things really for the industry. One, it cheapened the industry, made you feel as if you can't do certain stuff, so you'll end up in the automotive industry. And two, it pushed out a lot of females because that one gets suggested to females.
Because we're too good.
Because at the moment, it's a massive recruitment issue, and it's not surprising for them two issues because people that are educated don't get pushed into the automotive industry. And also, then, of course, we've created this industry that's full of, and let's be honest, predominantly white males, elder generation. What we forget is there's many, many other jobs in this industry. And there's also very, very good female mechanics, and we know a fair few now. We're getting to know them. But again, when you're reading a magazine, that's not being seen. And we need to change the whole industry here. And also the younger generation needs to come into this as well. We'll be all hearing about EVs, and it's all computerized, but we still need spanner turners.
Yeah, sorry to jump in. I think to go back to your question, I think we would have struggled competing with a number of podcasts that are out there talking about the aftermarket. And like Ben just said, we're trying to reach the younger generation as well. So that's why, it takes time, which we struggle with sometimes. We're trying to do things on TikTok because that's where a lot of the younger generation are. A lot of the younger generation are spending hours and hours and hours on YouTube, hence that's where we've put our channel. Having said that, even my dad watches it on his TV, bless him, and he's well over the 60 age bracket. So yeah, it's trying to appeal to a wide audience, but I think we are going to hit a lot more of the younger generation, and like you say, the people who want to see the things. People learn in different ways, don't they? So somebody who has to actually see it being done or having to look at it, it's going to appeal to them hopefully a bit more.
Yeah. And when you're touching on that seeing being done, and like you say, it is a very hands-on role when you're a mechanic specifically. I mean, there's lots of other roles in automotive. I mean, look at us guys. I don't think we've touched a car recently, have we? But you're right in terms of the way you guys actually do video, and I touched on it in the intro, is more like documenting. Rather than this hugely polished kind of production, you're really documenting what's really happening. And do you think that approach connects better with the audience that you're trying to reach?
Yeah, we're automotive, and we are always been known. Fortunately, it is changing now. We've always been known as dirty garages, people going in, avoid, if you got your nice clothes on, avoid touching anything. Poor reception areas, and the whole industry needs to change. And I think if we come with a really polished production, they go, well, that's not the industry as it is. What it is, it's showing the fact that things are changing, but we're still a nice, warm industry. Actually, motor in the UK is too cheap. Garages charge for mechanics' time. They don't charge for investment. They don't charge for training. They don't charge for equipment. It's quite frustrating. And we need to change that. We need to get people to understand that spending £30 on a cheap part that's going to last a year, or spending £100 on something that's going to last 10 years, actually a lot cheaper. So I think there's a whole philosophy need changing.
Yeah, I think it's almost, we're not at that point yet, because just thinking about a video we did for a client in the automotive industry, and they asked for a quick, snappy, it was drone shots, and it was very cool, and we did it, and it was a couple of minutes, and they were like, oh no, it's too quick, like we need it slow down, it needs to be long shot, and we're like, okay. So I think it's we're not quite there yet. We're just still getting into the video stuff in the aftermarket. So and we want to keep it kind of watchable for everyone, because some people don't like that really quick, flashy, oh, what was that, I missed it, what's happening here. We want to show them what's happening.
And the other thing we want to do is we want a video to become like a press release, so they can send it across to us. We don't have to go out and film it. And to be honest, the more material we get, the better it is anyway. We've got so many outlets. So if we're doing a polished production, they're not going to produce their own, and people are spending a lot of money on videos these days. And what frustrates me is they use it once and then it's gone. They spent 2, 3, 4 grand on this beautiful video, and it's used in one place. So that's we're not precious about it. We love going out filming, of course, and we help some of the clients with their videos, but let's encourage them to use what they've got as well. They've got this bank of videos, get them across. Some of the one of the good ones that always sends 5 or 6 across a month is Laser Tools. They're only a minute long. We use them on TikTok, we use them on Instagram, we use them on Facebook, we use some in the video magazine itself. They've spent money on it. Why not utilize that?
Yeah, you know what? I'm trying not to clap because I was like, that is it. From my point of view, content in general, and like you said, we're a bit behind in the aftermarket. Content in general is so important now to engage those audiences that you guys have touched on, but it can feel like such a huge mountain in terms of I've got to plan this. Okay, well, do I storyboard it? What if it's rubbish? Is it gonna be snappy? And then, like you say, then I'm not going to use it in 2 seconds. Whereas the format that you guys have gone with is more evergreen and easier to produce in terms of, like you say, you can do a press release where you're talking about what's going on, and there's less of that friction. And leading up to an event specifically, if you were to try and put out that consistent content and you kind of overdid it in your head, it's almost like this blocker for a lot of brands to not bother at all, right? In terms of they're like, okay, well, I don't know what the ROI is. You also mentioned that it can take longer to kind of get to that generation. It could be that you're doing the activation now, it takes years before they even become a mechanic or become a customer. So let's say leading up to an event now, and we went with that documentation style, what are kind of maybe topics or segments that you guys would recommend that people use on the lead up?
It's really tricky now, because you want to get people to the event, but you don't want to give everything away. And we went to Hella recently, and I spoke to Neil Grant, the managing director, and it was really interesting. I've actually been editing it this morning, and he's given us hints of what's going to be there.
This is about Automechanika.
Yeah, Automechanika, and he's given us hints of what's going to be there, but he's not actually giving it away. And what he's saying is, come and see us because we'll have thermal management, we'll have ADAS, but I'm not going to tell you what it is. And I think that's the key. You've got to tease people, because the key is registration, but also share other people's. We can have hopefully 15, 20,000 people in the halls over the 3 days. You're not going to get 15,000 people in no matter how hard you try. But as a collective, as a collaborative, we can. So if you see somebody, and I understand that it may not be a competitor, but if you see somebody else in the industry saying this is going to be Automechanika, share it, because you're all talking to different audiences. One of my biggest frustrations, and Vicky, you'll know what I'm going to say now in this industry, is we see the same 300 or 400 garages everywhere we go, and we kind of, and this is going to sound strange, we don't need them now. They're out here. They know what's going on. We always need them to support the ones that are coming in. But, we've got more friendships with them than business relationships, if that makes sense. We're talking about interesting things, suggestions, etc. We need the other 9,500, 10,000 garages out now. And this is what, and every manufacturer will be talking to one of them, but they won't be talking to them all. And so we must be sharing each other's content and encouraging that. And that's what, for me, is the key, is let's not be precious about it. Because if we've got more fish out to play, with us, then we've got a bigger market to attack.
I think as well as them getting them interested in the event because of the cool things that are going to be there, or have the chance to win a prize of XYZ. It's highlighting the benefits of going. They might learn some new tips and tricks, or find out there's some new technology or tools that they could be using. It's why should they be going, what's the value to them to be actually attending, and delivering that again in an entertaining or engaging way to them. And then they can tie that in after the event to, you know, what actually happened, getting clips of people attending their stand and people learning about new things. And it's quite easy when you think about it, you know, bigger picture, but actually drilling down and making a video out of it. I get why people can kind of go blank and wonder what to do.
Yeah, and I think that's what gets lost in a lot of this is the legacy. A lot of people do pre-event stuff. They do things at the event, but it's the next one. It's so obviously there's the UK Garage and Body Shop in a year. There's the, you know, Automechanika in 2 years. If we're not getting people interested now and seeing what they missed, and making them feel, you know, what have I missed? You know, like jealousy,
FOMO.
Yeah, FOMO, yeah. Then they're not going to come. They're not going to come to the next event because all they're going to see is you're doing stuff at event. Oh well, that happens at every exhibition. But what really was the outcomes? You know, keep it going for 6 months, 12 months. I met Mr. and Mrs. Smith at the event. 3 months later, when I did a quote for them. 3 months later, we did the install. 12 months later, they're making so much extra profit from that install. You know, storyboard, like you say, back to storyboard it, but not every story needs to be done in a week. You know, and this is what gets missed, really, I think.
You need to bank the footage.
No, I love that. You can use video before, during, and after the event, but you don't particularly have to be posting it right now. It can be something that, and I love that the kind of end result and end outcome is that a lot of people, especially with TikTok and every kind of format that's just so quick and out there right now, thinking about content as more of a strategy, not just around the event, but then that long-term impact of what happened. That's such a good take, such a good take. I'm clapping too much during this, so I'm going to like sit on my hands or something. But so you guys have obviously done a huge amount of video. I don't want to know how many hours you guys have sat down and edited just your own stuff. So what are the kind of behind the scenes moments or maybe unscripted moments that brands are often like overlooking, but actually audiences do engage with that content, like keeps them retained?
We're going to say the same thing here. Outtakes.
Yeah.
Outtakes.
Definitely the bloopers and just behind the scenes in general. People love to see how you're doing what you're doing. We do quite a bit of that with our creative brand, don't we? But people get a bit bored of the forced, you know, the post shots, the polished picture. It's something funny, and especially on TikTok we get quite good reaction on that because it's silly and it's a few seconds and it's and you know, swipe to the next one.
I think people can take themselves too seriously, and I think that then it kind of puts them on a pedestal that perhaps they shouldn't be on. Be human. We all make mistakes. I mean, we've been filming this now for almost 2 years. Trust me, we make mistakes. I made them at the exhibit today. I've just been through the video. I haven't showed it Vicky yet because it might come out, an outtake video might come of it. But one of the prime examples of that is Mark Field, you know, is head of the IAAF, the biggest federation in the market. We did an outtakes video with him. He loved it. You know, he laughed at it. You know, on the latest video, he's just done a flip of the mic. Just be human. Just enjoy it. Don't be the stiff upper lip person that says, we're a corporate, we do this, we do that. We've got so many buildings, we've got so many. Nobody cares. Nobody cares, unfortunately, for the well you've done. The key is what's in it for them. And it's either, if it's a product, great. If it's a price, great. If it's a laugh, great.
Yeah, I think that people build an idea of a company through the people. You know, they trust that person or they like that person. Therefore, they have got a positive view of that business, whether it's corporate or not. And if it is somebody just being a bit stale and very serious and you kind of feel a bit scared to approach them, and it just doesn't give you a good impression of their brand and of their products then. So, 100% agree that some people can take themselves too seriously.
And we're automotive. We're working with fast cars. You know, that's the dream, isn't it? People work with fast cars. You know, we've got Formula One, which if you've watched Drive to Survive, they're all nutters in that industry. But, you know, we've all got our favourites. We've all got the people we don't like. But we remember them because they're not corporate. And if people with that amount of money can do it, we all should do it in this industry because that's going to promote the industry. And this is the key. How do we promote the industry? How do we promote the aftermarket? Are we a nice market to deal with?
And to work in.
And that's going to say, and what people do forget is every bit of information that goes out is encouraging people to work for you. Whether you're recruiting or not, every bit of information goes out is encouraging people to work for you, and you're going to attract a certain type of person.